Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Young CXO Socratic Dialogue. So today we're here to discuss the concepts of UX, and we're going to analyze different mobile applications through the lens of UX. In the 20th century, the concept of brand image was very new and the concept of brand valuation was very new. But today, companies take pride in their brands and take pride in their brand value. So is UX also headed there with a lot of companies suing each other, Samsung and Apple getting into an IP warfare over UX being stolen and so on. So is UX the new gold mine which the world is looking at? Hopefully some of these questions will find some answers in today's dialogue, although that's not the primary motive, but we hope the way you look at UX would be fundamentally different after today's dialogue. We have with us some young participants and two very experienced UX professionals with us with this young CXO Socratic Dialogue. So on this note, I would like to invite Team Goleman to quickly introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Aryan. I am in grade 6. I am from Team Goleman.
Hello everyone, my name is Satya. I am in grade 6 and my team name is Team Goleman.
Hello everyone, I'm from Team Goleman and this is Praveena. I'm currently a postgraduate student of psychology.
Yeah, thank you, Team Goleman. Now over to Team Jobs.
Hello everyone, I'm Rucha. I'm in my third year of engineering and I'm from Team Jobs.
Hello everyone, I am Anirban and I am a UX researcher at Duke. I am from Team Jobs.
Hello, I'm Karthik. I study 8th grade and I'm from Team Jobs.
Okay, so before we move to the jury introductions, Aryan always has a question in every Socratic dialogue. And this question is to question the teams on their choice of the name. Yeah, so Team Goleman, why have you named yourself as Team Goleman?
We have named ourselves as that as Daniel Goleman talks about emotional intelligence and emotions play a primary role in UX.
Okay.
Yeah. We chose Team Jobs as we speaking about Steve Jobs, who used to think about user-centric thinking while designing his products, which used to be a hit with the customers and the user because it was very comfortable for the user. So we chose that.
Okay. Thank you, Karthik. Now we'd like to request the jurors to quickly introduce yourselves. Mr. Shivprasad, you're on mute.
Okay, so my name is Shivprasad. I started, I'm a UX architect. I have close to 15 to 20 years of industry experience in user experience design. I started my career in a newspaper. You might surprise how I reached in UX from a newspaper. But when I started off, there was no such thing called user experience. And in working in the online division of a newspaper, I found that there are certain parts of the newspaper, certain parts of the online website, which is more frequented by the users. Their sticking rate or their interaction or their engagement with certain parts of the website is much more than many other parts of the website. So that made me think about why this is happening. And that thought actually made me explore deeper into the user's behavior and what is actually making them consume certain specific kind of content, how they engage with certain types of content and all. So that learning actually helped me to implement in certain other aspects of the website and increase the engagement and all that. So that actually fascinated me a lot because there is a structure that you can use to increase the engagement. There is a structure that which you can use to simplify the product and all that. So that brought me into the user experience design, and I began to learn about Don Norman, which is who everyone knows as a legend in the field of user experience design. When I started off, it was more called as human-computer interaction. And from there, I learned about information architecture, which is again centered on how easily you can organize the content on a website or a digital product. And from there, I became a user experience designer, and I joined multiple global organizations, and I worked with Ernst & Young, and then I moved to Accenture, then few design studios. So it was a fantastic journey, and I'm still learning, and I'm really delighted that I'm for having me here and talking to you all, because I never know that there is so much reception, so much enthusiasm when it comes to user experience design among the young hearts of India. So it really delights me, and I'm simply so happy to be here. So looking forward to talking to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Shivprasad. Over to you, Mr. Mani.
Well, hello everyone. Good evening. I can share my journey right from my engineering time. I basically got to know about design very late in my life. Being from a small city, not a lot about design going around. It's either you go into a medical field, you go into a engineering field, and that's it about careers. And I got to know about design when I was just completing my 12th, and I could not manage to go into design at that point, but I decided to go into mechanical field. And I did my 4 years in engineering, which was mechanical engineering, and I thought I'll take up automotive design after that. And through my engineering degree, I got to know a lot of more about design on the product side and the UX side. And I figured, okay, product is a better choice to go into. And finally, I ended up doing a product design postgrad from MIT Institute of Design, Pune. 2 to 3 years of design there, and a lot of learning happened. And I thought a lot of learning should go, like everyone should start learning this from the very beginning of their schooling. And I got into right from the beginning. I got started working with startups on their products. And one thing that really excited me about startups was basically that they were constructing something from scratch, and which is not always the case with the bigger firms. And since then, I've been working with various startups in different fields. So I've experienced a lot of fields indirectly, how processes work, how finances work, and how edutech works. So I'm more than excited to interact with youngsters. I've had design workshops earlier with people of most of age groups, but not school children till now. And this is a great opportunity for me as well to learn and listen to what you have learned about design at this age and the various degrees of design, and how much have you imbibed about it, and looking forward to it, every bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manik. So we'll now move into the first segment of today's program, analysis 1. So which team wants to move into the answer box? Okay, Team Goleman went first. So Team Goleman in the answer box. Yeah. So you can, Team Goleman, you can go. You have 1 quick minute for your response to question for discussion 1. You can state your question and then explain your response.
So the question was that pick your favorite app and tell how is the UX of that tool. So we have chose LinkedIn here. So there are some positives of it. Like they have many types of things to do. Like there's something of jobs, and there's something about sharing the experiences and all. So here majorly jobs, there's a different section made for it. It results in a good UX as people who have that motive can go to there. And then there's endorsements which help with people who want to connect with people to know their credibility of the person. And there's this automatic messages suggestions. When you are messaging on LinkedIn, then you can get automatic suggestions to message. And LinkedIn has this color of blue and white environment, so this is usually preferred in a professional environment. And some negatives are also there, like they suggest you to connect with people who you already know, so this kills the motive of you coming and building your network. As if you'll connect to the people you already know only, then it would not help you grow and meet new people. And then you get post recommendations in LinkedIn according to how your connections do their activity. So that also is not, it is negative. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Aryan. So now over to the question box for your questions.
Yeah. Who is your target audience?
The target audience are, there are two types. There is one seekers and there's one mentors. And seekers, there are people who want jobs and want to build their job profile. And there's one more type who want to learn from the experience of the mentors. And there's the mentors who want to share their experience. And there's also
Aryan,
mentors
let's
as
keep
the
let's keep it
recruiters.
short so we can have a dialogue. Yeah. So Rucha, he says
So-
job seekers and job givers. Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of things which LinkedIn is providing. So won't all these features would confuse the user?
Not really, since the interface is really good. It's easy to navigate and it's easy to learn where the things are.
There's different sections for each type of feature.
Okay. Yeah. So over to question box.
Yes. One thing was you said blue and it's more professional because of the color blue and white. Why do you say so?
Because it's more preferred in the professional community.
And it looks aesthetically pleasing to your eye too.
Satya, does that answer her question? Her question was, why do you consider blue and white to be professional?
Actually, I don't have an answer for that. I have to research.
So, but you mentioned that you consider that to be more professional, right? She's just quoted you and asked it as a question. So would you want to elaborate on that?
We said because the professional community mostly prefers it to keep like that.
Okay, over to the question box.
What specific features do you think LinkedIn has for recruiters and mentors? You said you presented LinkedIn from the point of view of job seekers. Why would recruiters come to LinkedIn?
Since, I'll first answer the last part of your question, why recruiters come to LinkedIn. Since the user experience of LinkedIn is good, there are a lot of seekers who come to LinkedIn liking it. So you have a lot of people to choose from who to recruit.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Karthik.
So you have the LinkedIn has a overall good UX, right? How do you promote this to other people?
What exactly do you mean by how do you promote this to other people?
Well, you can say that UX can be a pride, right? Can be the pride of the company.
Yeah.
How can they use that to promote it to people? Like, so that more people come in.
I'll give you an example. Apple may use user experience and privacy to bring in more people, and in its ads and all of the advertisements, they emphasize on privacy. Like that, we'll also choose something and we'll emphasize on that.
Can you think of that something?
Professional.
Yeah, if I can answer that. So one major aspect is, like Aryan mentioned, LinkedIn has a lot of different kinds of users. One as mentors, one as recruiters, and so on. But what sets it apart is, through the UI features and endorsements and all that Aryan mentioned, it caters to all of them through easy navigation and so on. So we would take that as the unique aspect and we can position LinkedIn as that. And that can create, get more people on board, if that answers Karthik's question as well.
Yeah, got it.
I have a question, kind of follow up to the what Satya answered about the employees. You can choose from a lot of them, but any person can go to LinkedIn, create a fake account. So wouldn't there be an issue of credibility, and wouldn't I end up hiring a wrong person?
It happened once. Some person created a fake account of my father, so he didn't get to know. So how would you solve that?
That you can also call them and try to figure out if they're a real person or not.
But that kills the user experience, right? Then why would it
You didn't even know that they exist.
Yeah, but also the LinkedIn suggests you to connect to people whom you already know and not new people, since it has concerns that something might go.
But that you posed as a negative because it restricts your boundaries to network.
It also is negative and also positive in some cases.
So if you are like CXO of LinkedIn, would you have that feature or would you not have that feature?
I would actually have it.
Okay.
I think perspectives come in here, so I would not have it if we should.
Any solid reason like why one factor is greater than other factor?
I would say I would have it, since privacy is something most people care about and most people look when they want to have a good user experience.
But
and
then
if your privacy is gone, you wouldn't have a good experience, right?
But you have two kinds of user, and if you are more focused on privacy, you are like rejecting entire set of user who are here just to network and to meet new people.
Then we might do something like for half of at the beginning, we'll ask them if they're like seeker or recruiter, and if they're a seeker, then we will not give them that feature so they can meet new people. But if they're a recruiter, we will give them that feature since they care about their privacy. And we can also give them an option to turn it on or off depending on if they want it or not.
So like you're doing so many customization, why don't you just focus on one target audience? Why increasing the cost?
Since if you have only one target audience, this app might not actually work that well, since it's based on people recruiting and also new people coming there to like get jobs, find jobs.
I can just add on why, because one reason I can think of is it defeats the purpose of the app. It's primarily a networking and community building platform. And if we are having only one users, me as a CXO wouldn't want it because it would defeat the purpose of my entire product.
So you are the ones who decided the purpose of the app. You are the ones who decided that thing. So if you
Are you asking like me as a CXO decided? Or
you as an organization, not as a CX.
okay.
The organization decided it. So why at that point only, why don't you decide that this is going to be my user target audience?
Right. Like I said, we primarily wanted Like if I were to imagine, I own LinkedIn or something, that the purpose in the first place was to have more than one kind of users who can network with each other, who can connect with each other. That was the major purpose of it. So therefore, to align with that product vision, we need more than one stakeholder or one user on our platform. So for that privacy thing and credibility thing, we would probably take the insights of the users, take the insights of different kinds of users, and maybe probably have a reporting feature or
Here,
something.
I would want to just clarify one thing. It's the two things where one was recruitment and job, the second was networking. So what you're saying is about networking. So why then having the job? Like I'm talking about job and networking, not like different user in networking.
Right. Even if you see with recruitment, right, when you say even it is job, networking does happen there, right? So they're not fundamentally two different things. They kind of flow into each other. So even if I'm a recruiter job, I'm connecting with a person who wants to get into my company or a job. And even the other stakeholder, if I'm looking for a job, I'm networking with a person who wants to hire me.
Yeah. It was a nice dialogue. I was finding it a little difficult to cut, but I'll have to in the interest of time. So this concludes round one. We request the jurors to move to the jury breakout room so my colleague Laiba could help you with the scoring process. So while the jurors move to the jury breakout room, any reflections from the participants? What were your thoughts while this round was going on? Yeah.
So we got a question about privacy and fake account. So I never thought that was possible before, but now I know, and I can think of ideas to stop it from happening.
Okay.
I learned that what I say, I have to keep it short, that then more questions can pour in and the dialogue can go. And also that I forgot the second one.
No, I have a doubt.
Yeah, Karthik.
Aren't you already have, or you have only target audience? You have only one kind of target audience. You have business people or people who want to network with each other and want jobs. So how are you planning on to expand that?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
I'm saying that the target people in your people in who are using LinkedIn, the target audience are people who are professionals, are people who just want to network with each other and get jobs, right? So that's the target audience. So how are you planning on to increase that, get diverse, mixed bunch of target audience?
They mentioned two kinds of audience, no? One who want to recruit and one who
More.
Even that
like
is quite diverse. No?
It's like you have one circle, it diverges into two and it stops there.
Yeah, so within those job seekers will be different kinds, no?
Okay, you're saying that also branches out into small things.
Yeah.
Although they mean the same.
Yeah. Anybody else, any interesting observations you came up with while the dialogue was going on around the nature of questions, the nature of answers, and how that questions triggered a certain thought process, or something interesting you observed in the pattern of answers?
There were many questions in which we are kind of mixing marketing and UX. It was primarily about target audience.
Okay.
I think in the dialogue, there's sort of few contradictions were brought out. Like first, we are thinking, if we think about one aspect, we are saying this. If we think about the other aspect, we are saying this. And while we are dialoguing, I guess we build on those sort of contradiction and come up with a third thing. So I guess like through the contradictions, we were actually constructing the knowledge or creating something new.
Just to add on, one way is how questions led us to, think more about the topic. Other way was how, because they were followed up, right? Like Rucha suggested that followed up on one question after the other. Answers were also in a way that could guide us to understanding the concept or actively constructing the concept at hand. That was one interesting thing. And like Aryan said, the scope of UX was not limited to just the aesthetics or the alignment, arrangement aspects, but it also extrapolated into the marketing aspect, how a good UX design could also lead to creating an inherent marketing about some product. That was an interesting concept that I learned today.
I have an observation. I've been observing the questions which Rucha was asking. So when Rucha asks questions like, why do you need both networking and jobs? Can you not have one? Why do you need both of them? Can you not have one? Is it a question which is trying to cut down the number of people or number of features and the purpose of the platform? And not to Rucha, but to the others.
I see it as a question of considering these constraints. How would you design the UX accordingly?
Yeah, so you're trying to define the scope first, right? Trying to define the product and its scope to begin with. And is this something you'd like to do? And once you have these things clearly defined, then your UX can take off. So before doing UX, would it make sense to ask these sort of questions to make it more minimalistic? And would it just make it minimalistic, or does it serve a larger purpose?
If we focus only on a target audience, then we'd also appeal more to them.
No, that's not her point. That's not the point I'm trying to say. I'm saying when she asks questions, you have this and this. Why do you need both? Can you have one? So when she's asking questions like that, are those questions having only one objective of making your app minimalistic? That is reducing it and having least number of things which can, sort of do that.
Yeah, one more thing that I see is the question of resources also came in, right? Why would you spend a lot of things? So when you ask this question, you not only look back at the purpose of the product, but also you look at the resources that I would want to spend in it. What would I want to add? What would I want to eliminate? Fundamentally, what do I need for it to, make that product vision happen?
Yeah, Nirmal.
It allows us to keep both of our stakeholders in mind, and we have to understand that one would not come to the platform without the other.
No. Yeah, that is specific to this particular question. I'm saying when we ask questions, do I need this? Do I need this? And so on. What does it help us achieve? So one objective is it perhaps can help us make the app more minimalistic. By asking that question, you'll do away with things which perhaps are not necessary. Apart from that, does it serve any other objective when you ask those questions? Does it bring out the priority of a certain feature? Now, just because the app is useful, would you include that feature? Just because the feature is useful, you'll have to prioritize, right? So one reflection I have is, I thought Rucha's question sort of brought out the priority of each thing by pushing people to sort of respond why they're having it. The priority was sort of brought out through the questions. So I think now the jurors are back. We'll be moving to round 2, the audience round. We'll be taking 3 to 4 quick questions. So the first question coming in from the audience for you, Team Goleman, is what is that one power LinkedIn gives its users which other similar platforms don't give? And maybe you would also want to talk about the implications in the user experience through this. Team Goleman, want to take it? What is that one power which LinkedIn gives which the others don't? And I would also want you to talk of the implication on the UX due to this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I don't know much about other recruitment platforms, but this is my assumption. I assume that the overall user experience wouldn't be good, since more people are coming to LinkedIn.
No, but the question is what feature? It was not about overall user experience, but what feature?
I'll have to research it.
Sorry, it was not feature, it was power. So you're saying the overall UX experience is a power, is it? How is it a power?
It's a power since it overall it feels very good. It's easy to understand and the usability is easy. So you can use it as a power and
Right, sure. Satya, I think.
get a competitive advantage over your other companies.
No, Satya, we're trying to understand what is that power. Yeah. Praveena, please go ahead.
One power that I can think of, right, is the same user can take up multiple roles with LinkedIn. So, for example, if I, as Praveena, log into the platform, I can take up the role of both a seeker and a mentor at the same time without making much changes to my profile or anything. The experience is kind of universal with the features. The same features I can the implications when it comes to implications. The same features are used when it comes to no matter if I'm a mentor or the seeker. The only thing that sets apart it is the kind of differentiation they make in between all these things. So I, as a learner, if I want to go onto the platform, I can refer to the same post as well. At the same time, even if I want to take up the role of a mentor or a recruiter, I can have the same power with the same amount of features. Only thing is I can have easy navigation because they're closely differentiated in different sections.
Okay. For all of you who are following us live on YouTube, you can send in your questions. We're taking audience questions. So the next question is the reaction time is considered to be slower, which affects the experience of the user. What is your take on this?
Could you repeat that question?
The reaction time is considered to be slower. I'm not sure if you agree with this assumption. That since the reaction time is high because the process is slow, that affects the end user's experience. So is LinkedIn's reaction time high?
No, I would not agree with it. Yeah, Aryan, go ahead.
Can't understand which type of reaction time if we click on.
Maybe I think they're talking about the recruitment reaction time. That is, you apply to a company and you get to hear from the company very late. So many times you don't even know if the company closed that position or not.
If I agree that assumption, then yes, it will affect the user's experience as they are not getting a response. It's more about between the company and the person.
Yeah, but does it affect the user's experience?
Yes, it affects.
So do you have a solution for this?
So if I got it right, it's not by what we mean by low or high or speed or fast, I mean speed or slow reaction time, right? If I got it right.
No, so there are two aspects. One is if I get to hear very late, I'm waiting for long. And the second thing is, what if I don't get to hear at all? I don't even know if the company closed the vacancy or not.
So one thing that probably, if we were imagining ourselves as CXOs, we would want to do is that look at the pattern in which this is going to determine it, and then introduce some, we would give feedbacks to the UI to include a feature to probably notify a company like the so-and-so user is waiting for your approval also. Would you want to get back to this person? Something as simple as that feature can act as a reminder to nudge that person and make both the stakeholders user experience better.
Okay. Another question is, if the recruiter's profile is fake or if the applicant's profile is fake, that affects the user experience. So that was already asked by one of the teams. So how are you going to deal with this fake profiles in terms of the user
Yeah.
experience?
There's also a report feature, so you can report people who are like that. So you won't face them later.
Okay.
If you want to become a kind of an applicant or a recruiter, so we'll ask about more information from you, that who are you and all.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Aryan. This concludes round 2. We request the jurors to move to the breakout room so our team could help you with the scoring process. And after this, we'll be moving to the jury round. Yeah. So while the jurors complete the scoring process, any reflections based on the questions you've received in the audience round and what kind of thought process it triggered and the nature of responses you've seen?
Can I follow up on the last question?
No, right now we don't want to take reflections until the jurors are done scoring. People from the audience as well, you can send in your reflections and we'll take them if you have some interesting observations which you've made around the nature of questions and nature of responses. Just 1 minute, please don't click on join. You can click now. Okay. Yeah, people from the audience as well, you can, if you have any interesting reflections or observations, you can send them in and we'll happy to pick up some of those observations and post them here. Yeah. Anybody here, any observations based on the nature of questions, nature of responses? Did any question trigger you well?
One thing that I could think of is when we were, the question, right? It was about the question for discussion, main question for discussion. It was to pick your favorite app and how would you look at the UX of that tool. Now, when we were framing responses around this, we look at what is already existing with respect to this app, the UX and all the features. But the kind of questions asked in a way would help, probe us to think beyond the existing feature. Now, if I were to relate it to the UX development of any product or so, it seemed similar in the sense that whenever a new user perspective or any new problem statement or probing point comes in, the UX is also expected to modify accordingly. Or else, like the questions that were asked here, there's a scope of losing these stakeholders or the UX getting bad. So that was one thing that I could notice.
And one interesting point I wanted to bring in was there was this question about users having to wait a lot. Internshala has this feature where they ask the employers to update the status of the recruitment after every post, and then they send an email to all the candidates. So I think that's a very interesting feature of asking the recruiters to update the status and then passing it on to all the applicants so they know that, okay, this position was closed or this person was hired and so on. So that was a very interesting question for which I think one platform, I've not seen other platforms ask, what happened to this post, did you hire and so on. I've used at least 10 different platforms. And as of now, I've seen only Internshala ask that question. But again, a problem with Internshala is you can easily dodge and say that, okay, I didn't hire anyone. So, yeah. Oh, on that note, our jurors are back. So we're happy to take we're happy to start the much awaited jury round. So Mr. Manik and Mr. Shiva Prasad, I'm sure Team Goleman is eagerly waiting for your questions.
All right. Shiva, you want to go ahead first? Okay.
You're on mute.
Okay, so Team Goleman, it was a great effort. and the questions and the answers were really good. So one of the things that always of interest to me is how the business is making money out of any product. So have you ever considered how LinkedIn is making money? And you always talked about, you talked about and you found a lot of features being rolled out on a daily basis in LinkedIn, and there are a lot of features that is currently there which is being extensively used. So can you suggest maybe one or two features that can be monetized, which is still not in the app or in the product? Because I'll give you a context. Because when it comes to user experience, the term user is always at the beginning of that domain. So always we have a natural tendency of focusing entirely on the users. Now there's another aspect to it, which is where the business is all about. So without the business and without making money for the business, there is absolutely no use of the product. There is absolutely no role for the users, because when technology brings together both users and the businesses while solving the problems for both, only then a good product comes into life or gets successful. So you have to consider always what is the impact that you are generating for the business also. It's not only about the users. So business needs to make money out of it. Otherwise, there is no product that can survive for long.
Yeah, so we'll take the, I'm sure the team has got the question.
Yeah.
So team Goleman, would you want to take the question? Any two features you can think of which are currently not monetized, which can be monetized? Did I get that right, Mr. Shivprasad?
Yes.
Yeah. Two features which are not currently monetized, which could be monetized.
I have a question. What does monetize mean?
Make money out of that feature. Generate revenue. Yeah.
Correct.
The features currently available in LinkedIn, or we can bring a new feature in LinkedIn?
It can be anything. You can suggest or you can make revenue out of any existing features. It's up to you.
Okay, let me just add some information that as of now, LinkedIn makes money through ads and makes money through job posts.
Correct.
And yeah, if you want to have better features, you can pay a premium for having a profile with premium badge and all of that. So that's how LinkedIn currently makes money. So any other ideas you can come in here.
Currently, there's a weekly limit to give connection requests to people, so that can be unlimited and monetized.
Would you have a follow-up question to that, Mr. Shivprasad? So
how do you limit? I mean, the revenue model. I mean, how do you want to make this feature into life? I mean, in the sense that when they pay an amount, they will be able to use, let's say, n number of connections, or how do you want? What are the details?
How do you decide the pricing? Yeah. The question is, how do you decide the pricing? I mean, how much do they pay? What do they get when they pay, and so on?
At least just find out come up with a number that would be ideal for connections. Right now, there will be a limit, right? How much more do you want if they pay?
I think that would be 500 rupees, as it's an important feature which everybody wants as they want to grow their network. And I feel that numbers would start with the number 5. I myself feel that they represent premium thing.
Okay.
Would you have a follow-up question to that, Mr. Shivprasad?
I think Manik can go.
Yeah, I have a connected question. I'll start with that. So, hi everyone. So, what can you suggest one feature that you would want to add to LinkedIn?
Okay. I think comparatively to my other teammates, I get to be on LinkedIn platform a little more comparatively. So there is one thing that I get frustrated with when it comes to LinkedIn. It's about the kind of feed that I get to see. So the user experience of all these recommendations and everything is designed in such a way that it, for example, I liked Anirban's post today. He might have posted something really interesting, and the recommendation is such that for the next couple of days I get to see all the posts that Anirban liked. In the fact that if I were to to curtail my own frustration, if I were to design a feature, I would say that to make that power, if I can have the power over choosing what are the kinds of content that I can get to see, I would probably not want to see every content that Anirban like, but only the content that I, as in the kind of content.
Ravina, I think we got your point. Mr.
Yeah.
Manik, do you have a counter question to that?
Yeah, so do you have an idea of how to counter that? Like specific solution, do you have that in mind?
No, actually not. I'm not much aware of how I could do it, but if I were to, have it, that would be the first on my agenda to implement.
That's your problem wish list.
Yeah.
That this feature is already there to select the type of content, but LinkedIn is not prioritizing it according to the user's wants. And I would keep it in the way that whatever type of content you like, LinkedIn will see that and see, okay, you like this type of content, I will deliver this type.
Okay, sure. So, can you also tell me what are some competitors of LinkedIn?
Lately, I don't feel that there's a competitor in learning and experience in the professional community, but in jobs, there are many like Internshala and Naukri.com.
Do you think there are other competitors besides these online portals? So you're saying that Internshala is a competitor, right? So this is an online portal. Are there any other kind of competitors as well in the different fields LinkedIn is? Do they compete with someone else individually on a feature maybe?
Specifically, don't know, but many.
Will there be some business which is not a website or an online business, which is a competitor to LinkedIn?
So many tuitions, I feel that they market themselves as they will bring out experienced people and they will teach you.
Okay.
He's probably talking of training institutes.
Training. Okay, for training. All right. So I have one more question, which is based on what you said sometime back when you introduced your question, which is there was one con that you suggested that it suggests to you people that you already know, right? And that was a con that if you are going on LinkedIn, it is one of the con that it suggests to me people that I already know and not new people, right? So my question is, how would you use it for your advantage if you were running LinkedIn?
That feature of that, or I'm not sure with the question. Okay.
So the question is based on something you said when you introduced about LinkedIn, and you said it is a con. You said there are pros, there are cons. One of the cons you said was that it suggests to me people who I already know, right? And my question is, how would you use that for your advantage if you were running LinkedIn?
Mr. Manik, if I got you right, he's saying that you mentioned that LinkedIn only suggests those people whom you already know, and you classified it as a disadvantage, right? So if you were the one who's running LinkedIn, let's say you're Reid Hoffman, right? And how would you use this to your advantage, that LinkedIn is only suggesting people that you know?
We would you tell them that it is good for your privacy, since if there are people who you don't know who are just like spamming you and like saying like I want to connect with you, I want to connect with you, it will result in a bad user experience.
Is that an advantage of the fact that we were talking about?
It is an advantage, but it can also be a disadvantage if you want to connect with more people.
Okay, can do you have any more ideas, team, around how to use this as an advantage? So basically, I said the context is basically you're coming on LinkedIn to nurture your professional network, right? And it is helping you to connect to people you already know. Now, how will you use that algorithm to grow and nurture your professional network?
So to prepare, sir, can you repeat your question again, please?
So Satya, the question is that you come onto LinkedIn to network. Let's say you come onto LinkedIn to network, and LinkedIn is suggesting you people whom you already know. So how can this be an advantage for you? As LinkedIn, how can you show it as an advantage to the user? That it's suggesting to your users whom you already know.
We can tell them that you might have discussions that you haven't finished with that person, so we are telling you to contact this person again.
Okay.
Sure. Is this from the LinkedIn as a company standpoint or the user standpoint of using it as an advantage?
User standpoint.
One more that I can think of that is on similar lines definitely is one is like Satya suggested to be able to give a chance to finish off those conversations. But see, because it's people you already know about, it's only a sense of familiarity that will be there. But you can build even more meaningful relationship with that person and grow your network further. So if we can position it like that, people would not see it as a disadvantage. And definitely the aspect of privacy, like Satya said, that sense of security that not everyone is spamming my LinkedIn profile.
All right. Siva, do you have more questions?
Yes. Do we have time, right?
Yeah, we do it.
Okay. So a lot of people are silent and unengaged on LinkedIn. On most of the social networks, it is like that. So maybe very few would be actually engaged. So my simple question is, how can you increase the engagement? With the content, between the people, between the employers, employer to job seekers. There are a lot of ways you can bring in two parties and facilitate engagement. How do you, maybe two ideas to increase the engagement?
Can be that one type of person likes certain type of content and another type of person likes the same type of content. So LinkedIn will suggest you that person, so you would be more inclined to meet with person who is similar to you. Then
Good. Maybe the another one.
Okay, that was a very interesting idea, Aryan. Me as a user would love it. Secondly, one more thing that if I were to do is that a lot of times it also so happens that I like LinkedIn, but I don't even realize that I'm not engaging with it enough at times. So as LinkedIn, I would want to maybe provide notifications of this was the last time when you were active on it, and this is what you could do back then. Would you want to get back to that? Some nudge or notifications like that.
Do you see any similar kind of features on LinkedIn right now?
These two things?
No, similar.
Okay.
Because these are all triggers, right? Triggers to facilitate engagement and
Right.
connection. So
Something-
there are certain elements that is already there, which you can build on. That's what. So have you noticed that? That's a question.
there's notifications. Which
How is it similar? If I were to add, is that what we suggested is a different kind of nudge to tell them ki, when you were last active, this was what you could do. But right now, there's also a nudge, there's also a notification, but the purpose is different, if I'm not wrong. It's now like there's a person who went looked through your profile. Your new connection has made a post. So there are different kind of nudges, but we would want to create another nudge, like different kind.
Very good. Yeah. Manik?
Yeah, I have one question. So what do you think is possibly LinkedIn's biggest cost for their business?
I have no knowledge about it, but if I were to make an assumption, it is probably the messaging or the kind of networking messaging features that they would develop and so on, the kind of bandwidth that they had to design for it. So I think probably that would take them the maximum amount of it.
Okay, any other ideas?
we go deep to the concept with Ravina, I'm told. So it takes AI in that and a lot of algorithms also to see, okay, he messaged this, that what can I reply? So that takes money.
Okay, maybe.
One more, if it is already not covered, is the way it gives us recommendations on lines of what Aryan said. Probably that could also take a lot of investment and resource from their end.
Yeah, overall, I would say that the AI part of it would take a lot of cost to make.
Okay, so technology, you mean, right?
Yeah.
And okay. Fair enough. Do you want more questions or?
We have time for one last question if one of you has a question.
Okay. I basically just wanted to know, how have you learned about LinkedIn while preparing for your assignment?
Usually use it, so
You used it.
Yeah, we use it.
As a user, yes, me too.
So who has used it for how much time?
use it for a month.
Okay.
I use it for a couple of months.
Okay. And what all did you do on it?
I made a profile and I connect with other people and
Okay.
talk to them about UX research.
Okay. Nice. What did you write on your title?
I don't exactly remember.
All right. So you created a profile on LinkedIn and you started sending connections. And how many people did you connect with?
149.
149.
Around 100 people.
Did you know these people or they were all new?
Then
You knew?
some of them I know.
Okay. So how did you think it helped? Like when you added someone you knew, uh, did you get interesting suggestions after that to connect to more people? So let's say you send me a friend request, like a connection request on LinkedIn, and I accepted. What happened after that? Once I've accepted, you go to my page. What do you see on my page?
I
First
see.
written,
You see what?
there's first written on the right side of your name.
Okay, and where do how have you been able to add a connect? Will you be able to add another connection from my profile as well?
So I can go, your number of connections would be there. I click on that and see what all you have in your connections.
Okay, nice. So did you add anyone like that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. That's all from me, Tarun. And thank
One
you.
follow-up question to what Manik has asked.
Yeah.
Why did you created the profile on LinkedIn? Any specific reason, or just to complete the assignment? What was the reason?
I made because I wanted to network with good thought leaders to learn.
Thought leaders in which subject or which domain?
Interest on many topics, so on that.
Okay, so as a follow-up to that, do you think LinkedIn should broaden the target users, maybe include school students? Do you think?
I think that they can, but they just have to ensure that when they broaden, they keep in mind that they are addressing to the professional community.
So, do you think that school students, when they are studying in school, can be a part of the professional community?
We are 13 plus.
Exactly. That's the question. So, in that case, if the LinkedIn needs to broaden that user base, then, and if you think that students should be allowed as a target audience, then what should be? How should they use it? How should they do it?
They can make a new community for children.
Yeah, use your brain. Pretty interesting, yes. And
They would recommend school students to school students.
so you want it to be called as LinkedIn or any other product?
Some name which appeals to children.
And how can you brand it as LinkedIn? Because you essentially got attracted to LinkedIn.
So we'll tell it as children's LinkedIn.
Okay, great. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. This brings us to the conclusion of the program. We request Mr. Manik and Mr. Shivprasad to move to the jury room so we could help you with the scoring. And after this, we'd really love to take your thoughts and your reflections of the program. Yeah. So why? And in case you're able to score from here itself, even that's okay. Yeah.
I think I can do it from here.
I can do that.
So while the jurors are scoring, any reflections based on the jury round? It was quite intense, right? So any reflections?
Like, I got to know that from the people we know, we can also find in their things that we can also find someone who we know, but we didn't know that they were on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I also learned this marketing strategy to brand something on the fundamentals it took and the thing it was mixed to and then presented.
Okay. Thanks, Aryan. Anyone else?
There was one question that you have one negative feature, and how would you use it to your own advantage? You think that it's not a good user experience, and I guess when we think of UX, like we often tend to go into that mode. If a user is not liking a feature, or if they are not happy with the experience, we need to change the user experience totally. But this particular point was really interesting, that no, we can still use that feature, particular negative point, to our own advantage by maybe making the user aware of other possibilities. So yeah, that was one really interesting point which I observed through the discussion.
Yeah. Thank you, Rucha. Now we are happy to take your comments, Mr. Manik and Mr. Shivprasad.
Manik, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I'd like to congratulate the teams. I think amazing work. And the only point where I thought they could be much better was, looking at learning more about other things around you and examples basically which you could have given. And that will happen in due time. I'm sure it is it's difficult to grasp one product as such at this point. And when you start using other products, and I would suggest that you keep this exercise going, like keep a journal for your LinkedIn, case study, keep going on it and maintain it, and look forward to, keep looking at building that case study in detail as and when you get to know about new products and new feature sets and new possibilities which are not even there right now, might even create the future of networking. And uh, another thing I would really like to appreciate is how much dedication you've shown on by going to LinkedIn, registering there, and experiencing it yourself. That's very much appreciated. I think that's how it should be, getting into this the very feet of the person. And one thing you could definitely keep doing it is observe other people as well, observe other professionals and ask questions to them, so that whatever you experience, you also validate with certain amount of other people around you. And it is another very active way to learn about the same thing. um, Overall session was great. I loved it. And I hope you got to learn something amazing from the time that you gave today, and look forward to see how you evolve through this. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Manik.
Yes, it was a awesome session. You guys really are great. So I personally felt that I'm really surprised to know that how much effort you guys have put in, and how much creative thought that has gone into in solving the problems, understanding the users and all that. So it's really commendable, and you should really continue what you are doing right now. And one of the things that I would suggest you guys to do is, when you are approaching UX of any product, I would want you to think about as Manik said, you need to think about the whys, the why behind every design decision that you see. We started with the discussion about the colors, right? For example, blue. When it comes to luxury, we see golden, deep red and all that. When we have to elicit a trust, we use a different kind of color. So whenever you see anything that comes to the feel, usability, or in terms of the look, always ask the whys behind it. And when you explore that why, you will know a lot more than what your books can teach you. Okay. And again, I'm using the example given by Manik. You need to connect with the industry. You need to connect with the experts around you. You can connect with the elders around you. And you need to ask them the questions. Okay, why this is happening? What must be the reason behind this? So when you do that, you might get partial answers, or at least you will get their thought, which you can build on. Then you read, then you build on it, and you will get a refined thought for yourself. So never stop doing what you are currently doing. You are in the right track, and keep doing, and ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions, and you will go a long, long, long way in learning new things, which books cannot teach. So when you stop asking questions, your learning stops, obviously. So fantastic, awesome. You guys are really amazing. So keep continuing in the same track, and you will reach amazing places. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shivprasad. Thank you, Mr. Manik. So this brings us to the conclusion of the program. So the second installment of the Young CXO Dialogue will be streaming on our channel soon. So for all of you who've not currently subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to the channel to get updates about the future Socratic dialogues which are going to take place. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.